Let's get into the match preview. Like I said, Burnley away, 7:30 kickoff tomorrow night. It's going to pose a lot of different threats that the Man City game posed for us. It's going to be an extremely difficult game. And when you look at Burnley, they're a team that usually around this time of the year they get to grips with things, and it seems to be doing it again, Sean Dyche.
Yeah, and Sean Dyche knows how to handle a relegation scrap, and they've got all those games in hand. He won't be looking at those games in hand with any fear, Sean Dyche. He knows that he's done it so often when they need a big result, even against a big team, even against teams in the top half. He can pull, especially at home, he can pull them out the bag. He's done it time and time again. And at the moment, I think they're one loss in the last 5. Okay, they've only won 2 games this season. But with Weghorst coming in January, with the likes of Cornet coming back from injury, they've got also Dwight McNeil. Aaron Lennon's actually playing quite well for them at the moment. So they have players who especially on the counter-attack, will be able to hurt the opposition, and especially with Weghorst now in the centre. They got real quality now up front.
Proper focal point as well.
Yeah, like if they're to swing crosses in, lump the ball up, he can hold it up. He's got a little bit of more technical ability than someone like Chris Wood had, and his finishing is top-notch, and he proved that in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about Aaron Lennon, because the Spurs fans are very nostalgic when we think about Aaron Lennon. Tottenham through and through, absolutely loved the guy when he was at Spurs. Brilliant goal last week, and he scored against Man United a couple of weeks ago as well. He's playing really well at the moment. And what kind of threats is he still posing the same threats as when he was at us?
Not the same threat, but he's still got clearly the ability to play at this level. He's 34 now, Aaron Lennon. He's getting on a bit. I want to read a quote from Sean Dyche talking about Aaron Lennon just now. He said, "I still want more from him. He's still quick. He can still open up the game more, break the back line more. He can still drive at people more because he can do it." I think sometimes, even with his experience, you can be a bit safe in your performance as you get older. When you get younger, you're more open-minded to just play. We want him to get back to that. He's showing that he can with the open-mindedness to perform at Old Trafford. His game on Saturday, the way he delivered and worked so hard, the way he presses for the team, he was very good against Liverpool, and he won the ball back so many times for us in key positions. And that was something that was a feature of when he was at Tottenham. I know in his early days, definitely it was that fearlessness. He was able to drive at people, and it doesn't matter who he's taking on. Any fullback he was confident to take on. But as he got on to his later years at Tottenham, obviously he still had that element to him. But I remember a lot of people used to talk about how good he was at tracking back and following his fullback and doing that defensive side and the nitty-gritty side of the game. And clearly he hasn't lost that side. And Sean Dyche had definitely been praising him for that. And I've seen him a bit. Obviously, look, you're not the same player as you were at 34 as you were at 20 or 19 or whenever you broke into the Tottenham team. But he's still quick. He definitely still has that pace about him. And he's definitely one on the right-hand side. If we let him get a run on our fullback and get a cross in, he can deliver something for Weghorst. And that's something we have to watch out for.
Yeah. I think usually at Turf Moor, they say it's a very hard place to go, but usually we have a fairly good record there. But having said that, in our last 3 games there, only won 1 game. If you bring up the last 5 games we have played against Burnley, obviously 3 wins in our last 5, 2 of those coming at home. Our last win there coming earlier on this season in the Carabao Cup. Last year we drew 1-1, and the year before losing 2-1. So, I mean, historically, since they've come in the Premier League, I think that we've actually got quite good results there. But recently we've started to slip there a little bit. Yeah,
I think we lost there. I remember when Poch went mad at Mike Dean.
Yeah, that was right.
I remember that game. We were there at Turf Moor, and that was a game where that season really started to go wrong. Actually, that loss at Turf Moor. But last season we won 1-0. It was a very close game. It was a Mourinho special. I think it was I remember it was a goal from a corner late in the game that got us to win. And it's always a very, very tough game. Look, Liverpool just went to Turf Moor and they only won 1-0. And Weghorst had a bunch of chances which Alisson was equal to. So it's always a tough place to go at Turf Moor. I think their last few home games, it's been very, very. Their results have been decent. They've drawn home to Man United. They lost 1-0 to Liverpool. They drew 0-0 Watford, and they drew 0-0 West Ham, and they drew 3-3 with Palace. So they haven't actually lost that many home games. It's always been very, very close. I think that's one loss in the last 6 or 7 games at home. So
yeah, obviously they did lose to, I think, Huddersfield in the cup or something. Recently. But yeah, no, I take your point. They have been, I think that Burnley, they had a shocking start to the season, but I really believe that they're getting to grips with things now and they're looking much better. Weghorst has come in, he's added something completely different. The other players that you mentioned in Cornet, he's been a brilliant signing for them. Signed as a left back, plays up front.
Yeah, incredible. And he's done a great job, hasn't he?
Yeah, he really has scored some brilliant goals this season. Dwight McNeil's always a threat. And obviously they got a strong defence as well. So it's going to be a very, very difficult test. If you bring up the form graphic coming into it, they've one loss in their last 5 games, albeit 3 draws. But that's what we got to be careful of on the weekend. We got to score as soon as possible, and then that will draw Burnley out a little bit, and then we can probably find some more joy there.
Yeah. So look, at home they've only lost 3 of 10 games. And 2 of them were 1-0 at home to Arsenal and 1-0 at home to Liverpool. So it's like they're really tough nut to crack. Even though they don't win many games, they don't lose either. So it's going to be very, very difficult, especially the way they play. They're very, very compact, very aggressive, and actually as well, when you do try and play out from the back, they're actually quite good at pressing quite high. They do tend to like to do that before settling back in their shape. So it's going to be very difficult for us to break them down and get them play through them. And you're absolutely right. We have to make sure we're hitting them as early as possible, because if we allow them to get settled, if we don't, because we have to make them open up a bit. If we allow them to get compact and get settled in the game and make things really difficult for us, then it could be a long evening. And especially set pieces, that's been our kryptonite recently, especially for the lot not against Southampton, but I know we were struggling with set pieces before the turn of the year badly. So if we allow them too many set pieces with the likes of McNeil and Cornet whipping them in, with the likes of Weghorst and their centre backs up there in the box, it's going to be very difficult for us, really difficult. So we have to make sure we're dominating possession. We have to make sure we're controlling the game, and when we get into the final third, we have to make sure we're doing the right things. We have to make sure we've got the quality there.
Yeah, and people have made a lot about Spurs' away form this season, but it has taken a turn for the better recently. In our last 4 away games, we've won 3 of them and lost 1 of them, which was to Chelsea. So obviously we went to Man City on the weekend, we won. We went to Leicester and won, and we went to Watford and won as well. So actually our away form is better than our home form at the moment, funnily enough.
Considering we've lost 2 home games in a row. So you got to say that. But yeah, we've definitely improved away from home. And considering if you include the City game, 6 of our next 7 games are away from home, which is a pretty crazy run of games. So that's going to have to improve, and we're going to have to start picking up serious points away from home if we're going to keep pace with the rest of the chasing pack in the top 4 race. But yeah, our away form, it showed against Man City that we can do it even under a lot of pressure, under a crowd which is intense and driving the team on. It showed we can pull a result out of the bag in those conditions. So hopefully we can take that into this game. But Burnley are going to be scrapping for every point, every challenge. They're in a relegation dogfight going into this game.
They'll have obviously the home crowd behind them, as at Turf Moor they always are. It's going to be probably a very intense atmosphere at Burnley, like it usually is. When you bring up the players that could be out for Burnley, Matej Vydra most definitely out. Tarkowski, Westwood, Cornet, Weghorst, Taylor, all with a slight chance of being out. But I fully expect, especially Weghorst, to play this one.
Definitely, they'll try his best to get him back, and they definitely need him. He's been brilliant. He's been an absolute talisman since he's joined. He's only been there 4 games, but he's already shown what he can do. He's been a brilliant start, and you can see everything's going through him at the moment.
He's got that kind of leadership quality about him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's obviously been an experienced striker in the Bundesliga for many years at Wolfsburg, and obviously when he went to the Euros as well in the summer for Holland. And he was a regular goal scorer for Wolfsburg. So he's coming into a side who desperately need goals, who aren't used to having a goal scorer score as many goals as he does, especially in a top league. And they obviously all going to look to him, aren't they, as a saviour? And at the moment, he's showing what he can do against Man United. He was absolutely exceptional. He was pretty much, it was like a one-man mission. He had to get a point in that game. He got a brilliant assist, and he nearly got a winner as well. If it wasn't for a great save from De Gea. Last game against Brighton, he got a goal and assist. It was an excellent finish from the edge of the area. He's a proper good player, and I don't understand why Newcastle for 12 million didn't go for him instead of 25 for Wood. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was commending that Newcastle business getting Wood, activating the release clause, strengthening themselves massively, and also weakening a relegation rival. But I think Burnley completely outdone them by signing Weghorst, in my opinion.
12 million.
I would have taken him at Spurs.
It's cheap, 12 million, right?
Definitely.
Can't believe we went for so little.
We were linked with him under Jose Mourinho, weren't we?
And we got priced out of it, I think. They were saying 30 million or whatever.
No, but I think he's a top quality signing for Burnley, and I would have taken him at Spurs 100%. I mean, he could have played that kind of Llorente role for us, and he was much better than Llorente as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as I say, he's got technical. Obviously, he's not the quickest, but he's got good technical ability. He's got a very good finish, and he's very physical. So he's definitely one to watch out for, especially with our three at the back. Then he's going to look to be engaged in physical battles against them, and if he can get flick-ons and things like that, those can be very hurtful.
Especially with the pace of Cornet as well.
Yeah, if he starts, because he's also got a bit of a doubt, but he's also been brilliant, Cornet, since coming. Playing up front, his finishing has been out of this world for some of the games. He's scoring loads of goals from outside the box and stuff, and that's something he never really did at Lyon. He was more of a left winger or left back, and he's come in, and maybe Sean Dyche has found something different in him because he's unlocked something different in his game.
Yeah, definitely. And if you bring up that one to watch graphic, obviously it's the two players that we've just been speaking about in Weghorst and Cornet. Cornet did come in right at the beginning of the season and started really well, but it has kind of dried up for him a bit recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, and he got some injuries that kept him out for a bit, so that was probably slowed his progress. But whenever I've seen him on the pitch, he's always looked a threat, even if he hasn't scored. He's always looked like he can do something, and he's not just quick and he's got good left foot, but he's also very strong as well. So he's pretty much perfect for what Burnley need. He's done he's had a great start, and he's definitely one we're going to have to watch out for sure. But Burnley is just going to be very tough nut to crack. And if even their most recent home game against Liverpool, if that's anything to go by, that shows how difficult they are, how Liverpool really struggled in that game to get all 3 points. And that shows it's going to be a very, very difficult game.
Yeah, Sean Dyche will most definitely have a plan for us, like he does for every single game, especially at home. Like my brother said, a very hard nut to crack. When you're looking at the Burnley predicted lineup we did, and when you're looking at the past game that we played against them up there in Turf Moor earlier on in the season, Lucas Moura was the one to fire us in there, 1-0 Spurs. Does Lucas Moura get a chance in this game, or are we sticking with Kulusevski?
I don't think it's that detrimental if Lucas starts, but I think if I remember rightly, Brian Hill started in the cup game, and then Lucas came off the bench quite early on because of an injury, and he obviously proved to be the difference last time out. But we were in a different place last time. We were under Nuno. We were struggling to get shots on target, let alone wins on the board. And Harry Kane was woefully out of form. It was just we were just a different side. Now with a different system, 3 at the back, with the wide areas, you've got Bentancur and Kulu there. I would try and keep the same team if we can, as against Man City. So I'll try and keep that consistency, and I think he will. Maybe if I was to rotate anyone, if Reguilon's available, I'll put him back in. And actually, in a funny way, if there's one game I wouldn't mind playing Doherty, it might be this one. In a weird way, because I think
Ederson went off injured, didn't he?
He went off injured. Yeah, he didn't go down the tunnel, so I don't know how bad it was. But in this kind of game, I'm actually not too worried that much about Doherty getting roasted down the line, because I think if we have the majority of the possession, someone like Doherty might be all right. And actually, as well, having Doherty in there might be a bit more of an aerial presence as well for set pieces rather than Emerson. So I would actually, this is one game I actually wouldn't mind as much as people might not want to hear it. I wouldn't mind Doherty in this one. So the fullbacks I'll change potentially if we can, but everything else I'll try and keep the same. I think because Kulu, you need him there because I think he gives that guile that someone like Lucas doesn't, and Bergwijn, they don't really have like in and around the penalty area. The bit of quality in the final third he's shown at the moment he can provide, and his dribbling in tight. I know obviously Lucas has that, but I think Kulu's a very quick, close control dribbler as well, which is very, very useful tool in this kind of game. And I think when we're on a high like this, with after a result like that, if we want to keep the momentum, if you can keep the same team, then hopefully that momentum can drive us into this game without too many changes.
When you're talking about you not minding Doherty at right wing back because you're not too worried about him being dribbled. Well, what you were saying about him being dribbled past and stuff like that. Would you maybe give it an option to play either a Lucas Moura or a Kulusevski at right wing back and play both of them in the same team? So we have more options going forward and more dangerous options going forward.
Would I want Kulu? I wouldn't want to. I don't know if it's the right thing to start like that in this kind of game. I would definitely maybe look to change it if things aren't going right. But I think at the start, I would want to keep a defender there. Just because if we concede an early goal, like that could be very difficult for us. And they do have dangerous players as well, like McNeil and people like that. And I'd much rather have a defender at right wing back than have than risk starting there with a winger at fullback, unless that's something they've planned for. If they planned for it, then fine, start Kulu there, no problem. But I don't think they have. I would guessing they're still having the wing backs there. So. And also, I think set piece is a big deal, and having a bit more of an aerial presence there with Doherty.
Kulu's got a big aerial presence, to be fair. He's quite tall.
He's tall, but doesn't mean you're dominant in the air like a defender. Like, I mean, look, I could be proved wrong, but I haven't seen him win many headers yet.
And Lucas wins a lot of headers.
True, Lucas does win a lot of headers. He does win a lot of headers, but I would still start defender there for the start. That's what I would do. But if it's something that Conte thinks if we can play a winger there and get away with it from a defensive point of view, then definitely, I think it definitely helps.
All right, so what's your score prediction then?
I've gone for 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Who's going to get our goals?
I reckon Kane will get one, and I'm going for one of the wing backs. I'm going to go for Doherty.
Bit outside the box, probably the most outside the box you could have gone.
Why not?
Yeah, I'm going to go for 1-0 to Spurs. I think it's going to be really tight, won by the odd goal. I do think, though, if we score early in this game, if we can get a goal in the first 20 minutes and go 1-0 up, I do think we can probably take them to the sword and go 2 or 3.
The thing is with Burnley is they're the type of team where even if you score early, they know, like, they're not going to open up immediately. It might take them a bit of time to open up. So it won't be like, we hit them with 1 and then it's like 2-3. It'll probably be like hitting them with 1 and then still it'll be the same pattern. And then maybe like last 20 minutes or so, then you'll see them open up a bit and try and go for it. And that's maybe where we can get our joy.
I'm going to go with Jack Snare here, though. I'm going to go 1-0 and Kuti Romero header. Because he's come close in the last couple of games. A few one offside goal. I think he hit the bar, didn't he? Or just went just over. So he's come close in the last couple of games. So I'm going 1-0 Kuti Romero. I was saying last night on the podcast 1-0 Kane, but I'm changing it to Kuti.
We're going to need his shithousery in this game for sure. We're going to need him to ruffle a few feathers, and hopefully he's very proactive against Weghorst and make sure he doesn't get the joy he's been getting in the other games he's had.
Definitely.